My name is Jack. I'm a librarian here with the Sunnyvale Public Library. I'm very happy to welcome you all to yet another installment of Electrify Your Life, where we attempt to highlight various tangible solutions for residents of Sunnyvale to become ever more energy efficient in their daily lives. And then an important note, this programming is supported by our Silicon Valley Clean Energy Decarbonization Grant. And with tonight's session, Soaking Up Solar Benefits, we have a few representatives from Acterra, which is an environmental nonprofit based out of Palo Alto. We have Genevieve Lucas-Conwell, Director of Programs, and Dennis Murphy, Senior Manager of Water Policy. We'll discuss the basics of solar energy, how to make the best use of it, and further mention the current realities of solar incentives and other pertinent logistics for living in California. And we also have a very special Sunnyvale resident. We have Indra Ghosh, currently building a house in the city, to speak on his experience with a net positive energy home. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Um, so again, if you have questions during the presentation, we ask that you place them in the chat and we'll make sure to address them at the end of the session. And so with that, I will let you guys take it from here whenever you're ready.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jack, for that amazing introduction. As Jack mentioned, my name is Genevieve Lucas-Conwell. I'm the Director of Programs at Acterra. And I'll go ahead and share my screen and get this show started around soaking up solar benefits and electrifying your life. So a little bit about Acterra. Acterra is a San Francisco-based nonprofit. We started actually 55 years ago. We celebrate our 55th anniversary just recently. Our history dates back to 1970s, really advocating for land conservation when tech industries were coming into the Bay Area. And since then, we've grown so much to support all 9 Bay Area counties, where we've solidified our mission to include bringing people together to create local solutions for a healthy planet. So like I mentioned, our history dates back to over 50 years. We've always focused on the environment and how this affects our local community. We have a great and deep emphasis in educational outreach and what that means for our community, while also providing options for individuals to take action and policy advocacy. Like I mentioned, we also serve all 9 Bay Area counties. So a little bit about what we're going to be going over today. We're going to be going over the basics of what is solar, the solar realities, and then the homeowner experience of Indra's net positive energy home, some resources, and leave some room for some questions and answers from you all so that you feel ready to electrify your life at the end of this session today. As Jack mentioned, we have a panel of speakers here today, including myself, Dennis Murphy, who's our Water and Policy Senior Manager, and then Indra Ghosh, who's a Green at Home tour host for us. So you'll see a little bit more about our Green at Home programming at the end, and the opportunity to see Indra's home. So what is solar? Let's start with the basics. So solar is the energy we receive from the sun in the form of light and heat, and it's an incredibly powerful source, right? As we know, we rotate around it. In fact, the Earth receives more energy from the sun in just 1 hour than the entire world uses in a year, which is pretty incredible. The solar energy is renewable, it's clean, and completely free once you have the right tools to capture it. So that's where solar panels come in, and how we turn sunlight into usable energy. So what are solar panels and how do they work? So solar panels are made up of smaller units called solar cells. Usually they're made from silicon. When sunlight hits those cells, it creates an electrical current. That's called the photovoltaic effect, PV. This electricity comes out as a direct current, DC, but your home uses alternative current, AC. So inverter steps in to convert it. So you'll see this little inverter here. Once it's in its AC form, that clean energy powers your home just like utility electricity would. And if you generate more power than you use, that extra energy can go into a battery for later or back into the electric grid, earning new credits, which Indra will talk about at the end. So, is solar right for you? So, how do you know if solar is a right fit for your home? Start by asking, does your roof get a lot of sun during the day? So, south and west, south facing and unshaded is ideal. Thinking about your energy usage as well is a big factor. So, the higher it is, the more you could potentially save. And the best part is here in Sunnyvale, you actually have a lot of ability to qualify for rebates, tax credits, and net metering. And a fun fact about Sunnyvale, it's in the name, sunny. It's about 216 days a year of sun. So it's a really great place to utilize that energy. We pay the solar tax credit here in California. How can you harness that within your home, right? So some key benefits that we'll touch on a little bit today. So electric bill reduction, right? This definitely depends on the homeowner. So definitely take some of these data points as a grain of salt, but just really as a metric to how much impact it can contribute to your life. But some folks can reduce their monthly electric bill from 50 to 100%, depending on the system and energy use. The long-term savings can be really substantial with typical savings from 50,000 to 40,000 over 25 years. Right now, the federal solar investment tax credit, ITC, offers a great rebate of 30%, costs through 2032. You'll notice an asterisk there, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But there's also some more incentives available in California, as well as for solar battery installation, which is becoming more and more crucial to the solar panel installation. So beyond costs, there's of course the environmental and health and value benefits of installing solar. So this includes emissions reduction. So each resident's solar systems offsets, this is a pretty incredible data point of 3 to 4 tons of CO2 annually, which can equate to planting 100 plus trees each year. Air quality, of course, can reduce local air quality such as sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide, which you're supporting public health, battery backup as well. So, for example, I live in the mountains. We get a lot of blackouts, but we have owners that nearby that have solar panels, and they're able to back up their home, and they don't have to worry about buying a generator. They have a generator on their roof, if you will, with the solar panels, which is pretty great. And your home value. There's an average of about 4% increase to your home value when you put solar on your home. And now I will pass it over to my colleague, Dennis.
Thank you, Genevieve. I hadn't thought of the name of Sunnyvale being sunny. I'm still reeling from that. So, well, that's actually, having said that, now I'll be the bad cop and get into the dark issues of solar as it's become, unfortunately, it's become a political issue. Because some people just want to reject the sunshine. So, oh, that's right. Next. Okay, well, you may recognize the Talking Heads illusion in this title, but otherwise, the destroy, destroy, destroy is probably not an exaggeration in terms of federal actions on solar, renewable energy, and energy efficiency. Everything good is bad, apparently. So there is the ongoing budget reconciliation progress, if you can call it that. And that is looking to take the hatchet to energy tax credits that include 30% on batteries and solar, and also the $7,500 EV credit, and other things that have already been cut by executive action or just held up for no reason, like NEVI, which is the block grants for electric charging in states. There is a realization that the crew in power in DC doesn't really pass legislation, so they're all putting it in one big bill, beautiful bill, it's been called, and hopefully get that through. And that is the mechanism that would make changes to the investment tax credit, which is called 25D, and that is what supplies that 30% tax credit. Their idea on that would be if it does pass, that those credits would sunset in 180 days, in 6 months. So even at the worst, you have a bit of a fighting chance for getting things done. So a lot of things can happen between now and then. There's at least 10 Republican senators who, for various reasons, have problems with the big, beautiful bill and won't vote for it in its current form, but they all have different reasons. There's the issue ultimately of negotiating points and backbones and all that kind of stuff. So there's 47 votes in the Senate against right now, as of today, plus those 10. And so if any remain, you need 50 to move forward. Next. Okay, moving to the state, continuing the dark days. You might have noticed, but the price of electricity in California is really high. And part of that is that our electricity transmission, not so much the generation, but the transmission is controlled by investor-owned utilities. And obviously there's been a lot of wildfires and a lot of work in that area. And so just to give you an idea, comparing things to SMUD, which is the Sacramento Municipal Utility District. Municipal utilities are great inventions. Sacramento, Palo Alto, Santa Clara, are some of them. And there are others like irrigation districts in Central Valley, like Turlock and Modesto, have their own kind of electric utility, as does LA Department of Water and Power. They do the power part. So anyway, this shows and this is actually understating things, but the average price of electricity from Pacific Gas and Electric is 38 cents. The average price for the municipal utility SMUD, one of the bigger municipal utilities, is 17. And there are some reasons for that, but there's a lot of unexplained reasons. The main reason is shareholder, SMUD doesn't have shareholders. It's a public institution. PG&E has shareholders and with the rate of return. Next. So as a consequence, there's many charts on this. This is a chart from the Public Utilities Commission. And just from 2020, charting the average residential utility bill, which was already high at 180, say for a household, but it's almost quite getting to double. It's up to like 300. And in that time period, the investor-owned utility delivered record profits to its investors. So all I can say is next. With the Public Utility Commission, which was set up to regulate monopolies, grant monopolies, and regulate them for the public good. That's the social contract. The social contract is kind of broken. The Public Utility Commission, in their rulings over the past 10 years, certainly, has really given the utilities what they want. They get a really high rate of return. They get a guaranteed 10% rate of return on their equity. Um, and that actually is an understatement. Our research, Rocky Mountain Institute figures it's actually on average of 16.7, and that's profit. And that cost US consumers, there's one citation from Energy Institute at Haas Business School at Berkeley of 7 billion a year. I think that's actually quite understated. Um, and there have been things lately, actually ex-utility executives who have put out papers about how that 10% rate should actually be changed to equal the cost of capital, which rises and falls over time, but it's relatively small. And because it is about, their rate of return is supposed to be about the cost of capital. So to actually map it to that would be a major win for consumers, for ratepayers. I mentioned that there's net energy metering, which is an agreement, 20-year agreement when you get solar, for setting the rates for which you get paid for putting power onto the grid. We're up to net energy metering 3.0. There's 1.0 and 2.0 depending on when you got your solar. And it's changed from getting the price of the retail price of solar to what they call a replacement rate, which is much lower. So the thinking with net energy metering 3.0 was the let them eat batteries decision, because you're not going to get much giving power to the grid. One other thing, or a couple other things about legislation that's actually working right now in Sacramento. A 25-year veteran of Southern California Edison, Lisa Calderon, is sponsoring a bill that would eliminate net energy metering entirely and rip up the agreements that are in place, which seems very illegal, unconstitutional, whatever. But I mean, these are contracts in all but name. So not sure how that would work in the courts, but this bill is in the second house and under consideration. There are two bills that are interesting that Acterra has been supporting. AB 1167, Mark Berman, and SB 332 that Senator Wahab has. And basically their ideas are curbing the ability of investor-owned utilities to use ratepayer funds for lobbying, which they've been doing against electrification, especially, say, the gas versions of utilities. Next. So all this dark news, dark clouds with solar, what to do? And luckily, Sunnyvale is in, and this series is sponsored by Silicon Valley Clean Energy, which is a community choice energy association. It's nonprofit. It doesn't handle transmission. PG&E handles transmission and sends you the bills, but they do the agreements for power and are a real force for good in terms of power. And so they have a lot of tools to help you in this area. The eHub is something we try to put these things on from their website on here. eHub Go Electric Advisor, which is what it sounds. They have contracted with people to help you go through all this stuff. And actually, the best way to start is with your home as it exists now, and to make a plan as far as get a sense, a baseline of what where you are and what your power needs are, and what even appliances you have, and then formulate a plan in terms of what to uh, tackle. The plan can also include solar and battery, and that's the solar.svcleanenergy.org. There is this assistant, they've contracted with a company called Electrum at Solar SF, SV Clean Energy, that can get quotes for you as well. And there's some other things that can do that as well. But it's really good to see that Silicon Valley Clean Energy is investing in this. And by the way, they are offering a lot of financing options. I haven't gone into it here, and there's more coming from them because they realize that the federal level, it might just go away right now. So they're looking to fill the gaps. Genevieve, next. This is the website for Go Electric, svcleanenergy.org. And yeah, it is this is more for, well, electric overall, appliances, EVs, and everything. It isn't specifically solar and battery, but if you drill down, it gets into solar and battery. Next. They have videos, and it's off this one website. And then if you hit this orange button, it says see solar estimates. Next. You get this. And this is that concierge service where you would put in your address, and the result of this is a fairly extensive report on, I mean, you give them information besides your address, but you'll get a very, I don't know, 8-page, 10-page report that is a great starting point, at least for next steps. So next. This is this is the battery part off the solar, that website. And this gets into a little bit background in terms of battery. They talk about self-consumption, and of course there's backup power. I mean, in terms of pretty much all experience, Genevieve more than us, experienced power outages. But the main thing is going to be the strategy is going to be to pretty much run on batteries when electricity rates are very high, approaching like 50 cents a kilowatt hour, and between 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. Next. So on battery systems, the point I want to make here is lithium ion used to be, that was the only flavor you could get. For battery storage, lithium iron phosphate is a superior alternative. It has about 91% of the energy intensity of lithium ion and 0% of the flammability. Lithium ion batteries, originally the FAA thought that they shouldn't be on airplanes. They were too dangerous. The computer industry got that changed quite a bit. This was in the Bush administration. But the fact is, lithium ion batteries have flammability issues. And actually, lithium ion batteries contain magnesium, which, if lithium ion is the kind of catalyst, magnesium is the accelerant. And once that starts burning, it's very hard to put out, if not impossible. So battery packs here, they're all LFP, lithium iron phosphate. They all have about similar efficiencies. There's, some different things maybe about the controls and stuff, but and actually capacity. Some are 15 kilowatt hour capacity, 13.5, but and actually even down to 5 kilowatt hour capacity. So, and they're different prices and things, but there's becoming a maturing battery storage market. Next. Same thing with smart subpanels. And basically, I won't go into, I mean, we could do a whole hour on smart subpanels. It's basically the idea is what used to be dumb subpanels now is getting computerized. And that gives you ton of possibilities in terms of like EV charging and load management and all kinds of things, and you would operate from your phone. And um, so that's an exciting prospect ahead. Next. Okay, so getting towards the end of this section, the Sunwork is a nonprofit in the Bay Area, really good group. They had some uh, basically solar purchasing tips, and they do provide solar for low and moderate income groups and nonprofits and things, along with a company called Grid Alternatives. Their web addresses are down below. But they point out that solarreviews.com is a real good site to see. Switch is on is another really good source of information and also for contractor research. And Energy Sage is another site that is good. In this case, it's energysage.com, Sunwork, and um, but at energysage.com just is a good search thing as well. And if we had the Yelp for solar, but actually Yelp is good for specific contractor opinions, and Nextdoor even might be as well. It's not just for food and complaining about things. Um, so, and then of course the contractor license lookup, CSLB, the Contractor State License Board, and there's definitely things with contractors. I think by California law, um, the maximum deposit a contractor can expect is $1,000, and not like the whole job up front that they have to make sure the performance. Next. Okay, switching to since I've been Dennis Downer here, gloom and doom. I wanted to give some good news, and it is a local story. Your city hall, your fair city. So next, you have a new city hall, and oh, there's a go back one, please. It no back. Uh, yeah, okay. So yeah, this is the front of the building. It's in kind of late phase, um, at least exterior construction. As you can see, there's like this exoskeleton of solar panels, which is pretty amazing. I mean, they basically built City Hall around this. So next. 1,600 of panels, and some of them are what they call bifacial, which means that they can produce energy on both sides of the panels. So they use some where it's useful that they would get reflected light underneath the panels as well. Um, so 1,600 solar panels is pretty amazing. And so they generate a lot of power, a million kilowatt hours annually. And next. Um, so there's a lot of statistics about that, but they also have battery storage, 330 kilowatt hours worth, and which, as you see, it says it's designed for 3 hours of whole building full function. And probably in the afternoon as they cultivate power during the day. And probably that'll be an expansion issue, I think, as well. So next. And these are just pictures. So here's a drone picture of the top. So you can see the amazing roof of this building. Next. Yeah, some construction pictures and underneath, and those are some of the bifacial panels as well. Next. So just some other views. This is going to be great grand opening. I was at the San Mateo County building in Redwood City, which was a biggest timber frame building in the country as well. And so, okay. Oh, so anyway, this is another shot of the front. And with that, I will turn it over to Indra.
Thank you, Dennis. That was a great presentation and also about the current situation. So I am now going to talk about a success story. So that's my home, which I call the net energy positive home, or next please, or the energy plus household. So the idea about this is that it's basically a standard home. So it's a single family house, about 2,200 square feet. It's located in Cupertino currently. It has 2 adults and 2 kids, which is kind of average. It had 2 commuting cars with 2 working adults, use the cars for weekend chores, visits to nearby family, friends, entertainment, and so on. And now the unique features is that this house hold for the last 15 years has had 0 energy bills. Okay, in fact, it has negative bills. So the utility company, Silicon Valley Clean Energy, gives me a check at the end of each year. And of course, it has 0 electricity bills, 0 natural gas bills, and 0 gas bills in daily life. And completely sustainable and carbon-free with renewable energy. Okay. So the primary reason why I did this project, of course, I was motivated by the movie An Inconvenient Truth by Al Gore. So I wanted to create a sustainable carbon neutral household. And I found that the 90% of the direct carbon footprint is fossil fuel based energy consumption in the home. So the steps was to create a net zero energy household, eliminate fossil fuel use, and use renewable energy for day-to-day use. And as a byproduct, I of course got the energy cost savings, which I'll let you know shortly. Next, please. So this was the plan. So if you can see on the top, these are the 3 different forms of energy we use in the daily life. Gasoline, which is in red, and natural gas, which is in orange, and the electricity, which is in yellow. And all of these you can actually convert to a kind of kilowatt hours using some conversion that the EPA has given us. And I was consuming about 50,000 kilowatt hours every year. So the idea first was to use efficiency to reduce all those consumptions, then electrify the home to eliminate natural gas, then electrify the cars to eliminate the gas, and finally offset all that to renewable energy. And as you can see that all these electrical appliances actually are highly efficient. They're much more efficient than their gasoline or natural gas counterparts, which waste a lot of energy as heat. So we actually ended up using much lesser energy than before. Okay, next please. Yeah, next slide. So the first step was to reduce the electricity consumption. Next slide. So first, you can actually do this by simple behavioral changes that doesn't need much investment. You can switch off lights, switch off appliances, use full loads in dishwashers, washer dryers, use a clothesline if you can, in the summer, set your thermostat to a comfortable but not too high or too low temperatures for the heating and the cooling, and you will be saving some energy. You can use low flow faucets and shower heads, which conserve not only water but also hot water, which conserve energy. And then you can wash in cold water with high efficiency detergent and so on. So those were some things that you can do mostly without much changes, and it will reduce some energy consumption. Next, please. Previous, yeah. And then you can do some small amount of investment, like changing your light bulbs to LEDs, which most of us have mostly done already. Put in Energy Star appliances when at the end of life of every appliance. Reduce plug load. So this is an important thing that most people don't realize, that the houses, all these electronics and all these other stuff like computers and all, they leach power even when they are not on or in standby mode. And you can use a set of switches or some smart strips to actually reduce that leaching power a lot, and that will reduce your plug load, which is being wasted power 365 days, 24 hours every day, right? And so that's some important. And then you can put in insulation in your attic walls and floor, and that would be actually reducing your HVAC usage. Use a smart thermostat, and I could actually reduce my total electricity consumption by about 30% using these steps. Okay, next, please. So the next step was to eliminate the natural gas use. And these consist of 4 steps. The first step was water heating. So I had a natural gas water heater. I replaced that with a heat pump water heater. And these are much more efficient and actually go in exactly at the place where the natural gas water heater is. And they just converted all the natural gas used for water heating into electric use. Next, please. Then I also converted my gas furnace, which was heating my HVAC, into a heat pump. So a heat pump is almost like an air conditioning unit, which cools inside. But in addition, the heat pump can actually reverse the flow of heat from outside into inside, and it can also act as a heater during the winter months. Okay, so this is a little bit of a more involved project, a little bit cost a little bit more, but with that you can convert your gas usage for HVAC into electricity. That's the second part. Next, please. And then if you have a gas dryer, it's quite easy to actually switch it to an electric dryer. No problem there. It converts everything to electricity. And then the final step, next please, was the induction cooktop. So I had a gas cooking range. I converted that to an induction cooktop, which is a very efficient way of cooking. It has an 85% efficiency, and actually that completed all the elimination of the natural gas in the house. The house became all electric, and I could save 66% of the energy that I was using natural gas when I started using electrical appliances. Okay, so I asked PG&E at that point. This was 2010 that I did this, to switch off the natural gas from my house, and it was quite a shock to that person over there, because nobody has done that at that point of time, and they had the idea that this thing actually cost a lot more money to do by doing everything in electricity, and I said I had a plan. Next slide, please. And the plan was, of course, to generate my own energy. And in the process, of course, I also converted my cars to electric cars. But since we are talking about the house over here, I won't go into details of that. But yeah, so the step 4 was to generate the own energy using a solar system. So next slide, please. So I decided on this grid-tied rooftop solar system. So I figured out how much the house was consuming, how much the cars were consuming. And then I found out that a 10 kilowatt system would basically be sufficient to generate all that energy that I was using within the year. Okay, next slide, please. So I implemented this thing in 2011. So it was a slightly oversized, a 12 kilowatt, about 40 panels. monocrystalline Canadian solar models, 11.4 kilowatt with a central inverter. And the expected output was 16,400 kilowatt hours per year, which is about a little bit higher than the 14,600 that was estimated for my cars and my house. Next slide, please. And of course, at that point of time, we had net metering 1.0. So it obviously was sufficient on a yearly basis, but it doesn't produce the energy exactly when we need it. So as you can see throughout the year, I am a net producer of energy during the summer months when solar is high and consumption is low. So those blue lines over there, and that is banked with PG&E and SVC, Silicon Valley Clean Energy. And then in winter, when the solar becomes low and the consumption gets higher because of the heating, I am a net utilizer, a net kind of drawer from the grid. And so I draw all that banked energy, and in the end, I come up a little bit ahead, and the billing is done at the end of the year, right? And so what were the results? Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah, so at the end of the first year, I had generated about 4,000 kilowatt hours excess than I consumed. So I had a negative bill of around $1,200, negative bill, okay? And that was because, of course, I didn't have the electric cars for the whole year that year. And next slide, please. But then, since then, it had been 14 years and the system has been still going strong, pretty strong. So every year I generate more than I consume. That's the green bar. But there is some variation, of course, based on some years the solar production may be low or consumption may be high. You can see in 2021, that was the pandemic year, so the cars didn't run at all. So I generated much more than I consumed. Because the cars are, of course, charged from the home using the solar. But overall for 14 years, no energy bills. So that's the story. So no electricity bill, no natural gas bill, no gasoline bill. And at the end of the year, Silicon Valley Clean Energy gives me a small check. Okay. And what was the annual maintenance cost? It was almost zero if you can clean the solar panels by yourself. I used a person who cleans windows to clean the panels once a year for about $100. And at the end of 13 years, I had to do one inverter replacement, which was about $3,000 to replace the inverters. It's good to go for another 15 years. And I'm done. Okay. Next slide, please. And so there was an article about this in the San Jose Mercury News regarding this project, which was still, I think, pretty novel at the time in 2013. I think since then, there have been many houses which have become net energy positive. Next slide, please. And there was an award from Silicon Valley Clean Energy in 2019 for electrifying the home and the household. Next slide, please. Yeah. And so this is what it ended up in the end. So as you can see, the 50,000 kilowatt hours that I was spending using all that gasoline and natural gas, using all this electrification, I could reduce it to about 15,000 kilowatt hours. And then the renewable energy, the solar generated 16,000 kilowatt hours for the whole year. I came up 1,000 kilowatt hour in surplus. Okay. And finances. So how much did I spend during this whole process? So in 2013, of course, now prices will be a little bit higher. The total cost was about 71,000 for this whole thing, changing the cars, retrofitting the home, using the solar. But then I got rebates for all those processes, which reduced the cost to around $36,000. And if you can imagine, there is no electricity bills and gasoline bills for every year, which saved me about $4,000 to $5,000 per year. So it paid back everything in 8 years. And since then, I have been kind of free. I've been using free energy. Okay. And if you calculate a rate of return, it is about 10%. Okay. Okay. So now the problem is that this NEM 1.0 has gone away. And so PG&E and Silicon Valley Clean Energy will give me this 1 kilowatt hour for 1 kilowatt hour credit. That's no longer possible in NEM 3.0. And so I decided to create, next slide, please, the Energy Plus Household version 2.0. And this is the house that I am building in Sunnyvale. It's basically the idea is that it will run 24 hours a day for 365 days a year on solar and battery only, including all cars, and not take anything from the grid. So it will be completely self-sufficient in energy. Only excess energy, excess solar energy during summer will be fed back to the grid. And it requires a house design with energy consumption and solar placement in mind. Highly efficient house structure, a strategic solar array about 22 kilowatts that you can see on the design, which was permitted by Sunnyvale. A large storage battery, about 108 kilowatt hours, 8 Powerwall batteries. I'm not sure whether I'll be able to install this. I think there is still a fight brewing with the city because this is larger than anything that they have allowed inside houses before, but let's see. And of course, there were some issues regarding the design which had raised with the city, so had to modify a because it's really pushing the envelope. But I expect to complete this house in winter of this year. And hopefully after 1 year, I'll be able to tell you all how it came out in the end. Yeah, so that's all I have right now. But this house actually would solve all the issues regarding NIM 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, and whatever, because right now I'm not going to use anything from PG&E anymore. Thanks.
Thank you, Indra, for sharing your success stories, and excited to see what 2.0 comes out to be in Sunnyvale. So just to quickly wrap up before we go into questions from you all, we just wanted to put together all the resources that you've heard from Dennis and Indra into a couple different slides so that they're all compiled together. And I believe there was a question around if will get slides. We can absolutely send them over, as well as the recording, I believe, will be available. So many resources at your fingertips will be coming to you after this ends. So just to recap a little bit as to from Dennis's presentation, what can you do now? As Dennis mentioned, there's a lot of resources from SVCE that you can find on their website, including their resources, talk to an expert, health checkups, and then thinking about upgrades and exploring the incentives, and looking at a battery planning system, since those are becoming more and more invaluable. Other resources as well, you can create an electrification plan. So if solar is what you're looking to do, or if you're looking to electrify more of your home, Rewiring America has a really great tool to help you build a plan. Switches On has a great incentive lookup for both local, super hyper local like SVCE, both state and all federal. And if you're looking for a contractor, Quick Carbon has some really good ones, as well as a contractor. Emerald Eco is another one. And then Indra also put this one in the chat, but Energy Sage is a really great tool to look up solar and battery contractors and cost comparisons. As well, we wanted to put this extra resource on here for Power Saver rewards. If you're not ready to do a lot of switches, but you're looking to just do some minor savings, they'll support you with some flex alerts to reduce your energy consumption with heat waves coming this summer. So that's just a quick, easy step that you can do even just right now to reduce your energy bills. And we're at our questions section. So just opening up the floor, and Jack, let us know how you want to conduct these.
Yeah, we could start with some of the questions in the chat that haven't already been answered, and then maybe we can return to the other ones in the chat if we have time, just so everyone could hear them. So the first one they have just came about a couple minutes ago from Jay. It says, can it be done so you do not need PG&E meter for gas and electricity? And maybe I think that was directed towards Indra, maybe?
Yeah, so actually right now, if you do a new construction, you usually will not get a gas meter. I mean, you have to really jump through some hoops. So the city is encouraging only electric. But then after that, if you want to eliminate the electric meter also, unfortunately, that's not possible in an incorporated city because there are some rules regarding safety where you cannot go off-grid in the middle of an incorporated city. However, if you are in an unincorporated part of the city, then you might be able to do off-grid. Okay, so you have to keep the PG&E meter for electric.
Great. Thank you, sir. And then Christina asks, what are W Regis and SGIP?
Dennis and Indra, do you have the answers for those ones?
Yeah, so the SGIP I know is the Self-Generation Incentive Program. That's from the government of California. So they have a pool of money where if you have a self-generation like the home batteries or something, they give you a rebate based on the amount of kilowatt hours that you have put in your house in the battery. So you get some kind of a rebate based on that program. The WREGIS, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that is the Western Renewable Energy Generation Information System that tracks renewable energy certificates covering the Western interconnection territory. It's not something applicable to residential solar or solar and battery. It's part of uh, the Western Electricity Coordinating Council, which is the backbone kind of energy system across the Western grid. And so that basically covers, it goes up to British Columbia and Alberta down to Mexico. So I mean, and then it's a good choice, Montana down to New Mexico. So it's a big area, and there's a lot of activity on as far as the Western grid and some different plans as far as interconnection and markets and things that are involved in this. But that's probably uh, another couple of webinars as well, because that gets into a lot of stuff. I did want to just address one while I'm talking. The "Be quick, don't hurry" reference was actually, I have to admit, was a basketball reference. It was a favorite maxim of John Wooden, who used to coach UCLA. And what that meant was, I'll just look for the slide, but what it meant was that considering the regulatory environment, or the deterioration of maybe federal credits and uh, different aspects along with that, and then the net energy metering 3.0 kind of situation, that is it is going to be a situation of probably where there's a deadline um, and some urgency to maybe do some things if you are going to. Just like, for instance, even, just with electric vehicles, if you're looking to buy a new car, just know that the $7,500, deduction or the credit might not last too long past the year. So that's really what it meant.
Okay, and let me answer regarding the NEM 1 and NEM 2. So net metering, okay, NEM is short form of net metering, net energy metering. And the idea is that because these solar systems, they do not always generate everything that you need, and they sometimes generate more than you need. When you generate more, you feed it back into the grid, and it banks with the utility company like PG&E for you to use later on, right? So you basically, it's kind of a debit credit system, or maybe a selling or buying system, where you sell when you have access to your utility, and then you buy when you don't have access from your utility. The problem is that the utility controls how much money it's going to give you for selling that electricity to them. And so in one, it was very generous, which I am under, that they give you 1:1. So for each kilowatt hour I sell, they bank 1 kWh. In NEM 2, they reduce that a little bit by about 20%. So even if you are giving them 1 kWh, they give you only like 80% of that credit back based on some time of use. And in NEM 3, it became so bad that, I mean, it's almost in the peak hours when solar is high, they give you just 20 or 15% of 1 kWh as credit. So the only way you can kind of utilize that energy for good is if you have a battery in your home to kind of store that so that you can use it at night. So that's the difference between NEM 1, 2, and 3. So the solutions that I'm talking about for NEM 1 probably doesn't work so well in NEM 2 and does not work at all in NEM 3. Okay, because it uses those schemes.
There was a question about neighborhood networks, and it's a great idea. It involves microgrids. I mean, solar plus storage, a little larger storage than in a home, but battery storage that could then be used. And it is actually an architecture that is been endorsed by the ex-chief architect of CAISO, the California grid operator. He thinks that it's a great, basically, he advises that, again, with electrons, it's like they're better once you have them, like a neighborhood have them. It oftentimes, the agency cost of putting it on the grid are too high, and so he would advise these smaller neighborhood kind of networks to use or as well. So you're in good company. Unfortunately, it just is an idea that hasn't taken off, and everyone is basically on their own. And that's in the net energy metering 3.0. That is more than ever, really pointing towards people creating islands of storage of their electrons from their own solar. And in a way, for an overall policy, it's a pretty bad idea. But, you know, this is where we're at. We are. I put on one of my slides like we are all our own power plants or something to that effect. And that's a very, conscious decision by the brilliant people at the Public Utility Commission.
Awesome.
Thank you, Dennis. So we are out of time. I want to thank our presenters for coming here tonight. It was truly a treat to have you. Incredibly informative. I really do appreciate your time and expertise. Similarly, to add on to the last thing that Dennis was speaking about in our last question, I will be putting in a link to the city's climate action playbook so you can all reference what the city's doing, what they're planning for the next 4 or 5 years. I think that might be a good resource to answer some of these questions that are a bit more specific to Sunnyvale itself. So that's a helpful resource for all of us. But again, I want to thank you all for coming. You will all be receiving feedback forms in about an hour. We find those really helpful. They really support and inform what we do here at the library. So if you can fill that out, that'd be great. But again, thank you to our 3 presenters, Genevieve,
Sorry,
Indra,
Jack.
and
Is it
Dennis.
okay if I do a quick wrap up of our upcoming events and
Yes,
just connect
please.
with us? Sorry, I'll do be super quick. But thank you to the city of Sunnyvale for sure. And you all had great questions. I just want to mention too that if you're interested in seeing these things live in person, Acterra is hosting a mini Green at Home tours with one of our tour hosts in Palo Alto. It's going to be every second Thursday of the month from July to September. So feel free to come and check out that process in person. They have a main home and an ADU that they'll be showcasing. More information on our website. and stay connected. We have some great presentations on our YouTube, including our Exergy TV that talks to experts around environmental issues. So Planet Acterra is our YouTube. And I just want to say again, a thank you. This is my email, so feel free to email me with any of your questions if we weren't able to answer them today. And Dennis, is there anything that you want to add?
Oh, well, Exergy TV that you mentioned is a co-production with KMVT 15 of Mountain View. So you might actually see it on cable channel 15 in Sunnyvale and Mountain View and other surrounding localities at odd hours of the day or morning, 6 a.m. on Sunday or something. But YouTube is the main thing.
Thanks, Dennis. But that's it for us. Thank you, Jack, for having us. It was a pleasure being here.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you all for joining. Have a good rest of your night, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Take
Bye.
care. Bye.